MDMA has long been associated with dance parties, raves and electronic music after its introduction as a street drug in the 1990s. Over the years, the party drug has increased in purity, with the current average recorded at 83% in the UK. Higher purity of MDMA means it is easier to take too much, increasing the risk of harm. According to the latest report from the Office for National Statistics, 2015 saw over 2,000 drug-related deaths from illegal substances in the UK, a 10% increase from 2014. The European Monitoring Centre for Drugs suggests this is down to creative and aggressive marketing. Tablets have logos and themes to attract users, as well as personalised pills for specific events. Following drug-related deaths this year, London nightclub Fabric was forced to close, sparking a campaign for legal drug testing in clubs. An open letter, directed to London Mayor Sadiq Khan, urged him to support this initiative. We spoke to Harry Shapiro from DrugWise about the potential of this service.
What I think they're hoping to achieve is a process known as harm reduction, so that it's not a question of, we will test this drug, it will be safe, you'll be fine. I mean, nobody's that naive to imagine that that drug testing is a fail-safe way of making sure that people don't get into trouble. But it is a way of giving people information about the drugs they are planning to take. And then at least they're making an informed choice. So if they're told that they've got, a super strong ecstasy tablet, they might go, woohoo, great, I bought some good stuff here, and take it, and take the consequences, if there are any, and there may not be. Or, as sometimes happens, they think, oh, I'm not having this, and chuck it in the amnesty bin that is normally at venues and festivals.
The 2016 Global Drug Survey reported that UK users consume on average double the amount of MDMA in one night compared to the other countries surveyed. So does the nighttime industry think that introducing safe drug testing is the right way to go?
The Nighttime Industry Association thinks that drug testing and harm reduction is a really sensible strategy. I don't just think, though, that it should be at clubs and bars. I think there's an argument to have testing kiosks in daytime in the city centres.
This type of drug testing, known as front of house, is already being used in Austria, the Netherlands and Switzerland. But in the UK, drug-related deaths are 5 times more than they are in the Netherlands. This summer, The Loop and Transform Drug Policy piloted this at the Secret Garden Party Festival. They found that a quarter of people that used their services then binned their drugs when they found out what was in them was not what they thought. But what exactly is involved in the testing?
Well, the basic idea is that any people at the festival can bring substances of concern, as we refer to them, to the service, and they drop them off anonymously into a bin. They get a numbered ticket. They can then bring that back about 10 or 15 minutes later, by which time the laboratory services at the facility will have tested them, and they can get the results of that test in terms of what the substance contains, and potentially it's how strong it is, as part of a 10 or 15 minute harm reduction intervention delivered by a trained drug counsellor. So they don't just get it tested, but they also get advice on safety and advice on risk reduction and broader health advice from a trained professional. All the risks of drug use are actually increased by a punitive enforcement policy rather than decreased. So whilst a service like drug testing is an important form of harm reduction in the short term, in the longer term we need to be looking at what is driving these particular risks.
So how would you respond to claims that this is endorsing drug use?
People use drugs, and we need to deal with that reality as responsible policymakers and manage that market and manage those environments in which they're using drugs in ways that minimise the risk.
Police Chief of Drugs Simon Bray told us that before they could support any type of drug testing, they would need to understand exactly what it involves. They could not endorse anything that does not comply with the law.
If you're a venue at the moment and you say that you want to have drug testing, some police forces or local authorities think that that means you advocate drug taking. And in fact, what it's doing is saying that we want to work in partnership to ensure there are less public health and safety problems, and that things are done in a more sensible, rational way.
Fabric is reopening under strict new security measures in order to counter drug use. If front-of-house drug testing were included, would clubgoers use it?
I think it's a service that needs to be used because there's an arrogance that it doesn't happen in Britain, which it does. It's been proven with Fabric that's going to be opening right now. But the point is, if it's there, it makes it safer.
Yeah, I would definitely use it. I think it's a good way of essentially regulating drugs, and meaning that if people were buying drugs off the street, then they could make sure that what they were going to take inside a club was safe.
So why do you think a reason would be why people wouldn't use this service?
I think one reason would be people would think they would be incriminating themselves. So like, oh, hey, maybe if I go and use the service, maybe they'll come and arrest me, or I'll get in trouble for using it. That's one of the only drawbacks I can, really think of.
Over the next few months, it's safe to say that people will be keeping a close eye on drug consumption in clubs and whether this form of safe drug testing can be beneficial in order to keep people safe.